famous persons, you had no idea they were in foster care as a child. Several well-known people spent their childhoods in foster care, before being adopted or returning to their relatives. John Lennon. Many Beatles fans are familiar with the fact that John Lennon was raised by his Aunt Mimi. He frequently expressed his dissatisfaction with the musical path his life was on, but she was pleased to take him in, when his parents couldn't or wouldn't. And who knows what might happen. We might not have been gifted the John Lennon that so many of us know and love, if he didn't have Aunt Mimi to rebel against. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was born in 1954 in San Francisco, and he never met his biological father. His mother was embarrassed into placing Steve for adoption, as a young woman in the 1950s who gave birth out of wedlock. However, shortly after his birth, his parents Paul and Clara became his foster parents, and the couple eventually adopted him, and raised him in Silicon Valley. Cher's mother left her father while she was pregnant, and worked as a singer for the first few years of her existence. When Cher was 2 years old, she got severely ill, and she was placed in state custody, until she was able to return to her mother. Cher was also looked for by her grandma. Seal was born in London, and his birth parents promptly placed him in foster care. When he was 4 years old, he was reunited with his biological family, but his father was abusive, according to him. Seal's father died when he was 17 years old, and at that time, he had chosen to be homeless, since he did not want to live with his family. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was raised in and out of foster care throughout her childhood. Gladys Barker, her mother, placed her in the care of Ida and Wayne Bolander. Unfortunately, she experienced a string of bad luck while in the care of foster parents, including being sexually abused. Gladys, like her parents and brother, struggled with serious mental health issues for most of her life. Gladys was able to accept Marilyn back into her home, and the two shared a home for a while. Marilyn was tossed among the houses of family and friends for a while, but it didn't last. She even spent 2 years in an orphanage. I began to cry, please don't make me go inside. My mother isn't dead, and I'm not an orphan. I'm not an orphan, my mother is still in the hospital and unable to care for me. Please do not place me in an orphanage. Willie Nelson. Ira and Merle, Willie's parents, married when they were only 16 and 15 years old. He has an elder sister named Bobby Lee, who is still a member of his band. Willie and Bobby Lee were left in the care of their grandparents by their mother. Fortunately, the grandparents were overjoyed to have the opportunity to raise their grandkids, and the scenario worked out well for all parties involved. Coco Chanel. Coco's mother died when she was 12 years old, and she and her sister were placed in an orphanage, maintained by the Congregation of the Sacred Heart of Mary. Her father was a traveling salesman, who sold clothes from place to town. Chanel learned to sew while she was still living at home, and the talent clearly came in handy. Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish's mother was severely injured in a car accident when Tiffany was 9 years old, and she had to relearn how to walk, talk, and eat. Tiffany was placed in foster care, with her 4 younger siblings, when she was 12 years old. Haddish said on The Late Show with David Letterman, "I didn't want to be around my mother any longer, because she had become violent and nasty verbally. I was begging my mother to let me live with my grandmother, because you never knew who she was going to be." Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was just 8 years old when his mother fell ill, and was unable to care for him and his younger brother. For a year, the two were placed in a foster family. He doesn't remember the period warmly, and has stated, "Those were the bad days. It was largely because of her that I became a comic." Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong's father abandoned the family when he was a newborn, and his mother soon after left Louis and his sister with relatives. When Louis was 5 years old, he returned to live with his mother, though he apparently continued to have a difficult childhood. Faith Hill. Faith Hill was adopted shortly after her biological mother placed her in state custody when she was born. Faith eventually discovered that her original parents were married, and that she had a biological brother or sister. Prior to her birth mother's death in 2007, Hill began cultivating a relationship with her. Meeting Hill's biological family, she claimed, was a life-changing experience. "I'd never seen somebody who looked like me before. It was the thrill of seeing someone from your hometown. It satisfies something." Anita Baker. As a child, Anita Baker was taken into state custody and adopted. She told Essence in 2009 that her mother gave up custody, not because she was a bad mother, but because she was a horrible mother. Because she was a bad person, or because she was some sort of monster or whatever. "She couldn't care for me, because she was just a child. It took a long time for me to discover calm in my own heart." Lois, Anita's foster mother, eventually adopted her,